My disclaimer is I'm not a paleoanthropologist, but I do have a deep passion for this topic of human origins. I guess you could say I have a passion for bones. So here goes the longest 6 minutes of my life. I've never done this before. So nerves, I guess that's what makes us human. There, I'm done. And so this is a view of, for Pecha Kucha night. PCCLD was awarded an exciting grant from the Smithsonian Institution to host a traveling exhibit called Exploring Human Origins, What Does It Mean to Be Human? And this exhibit provides a fascinating glimpse into the complex field of human evolution research. It explores the process of scientific investigation by communicating not only what we know about human origins, but also how we know it. This image is probably what you think of when you think of human evolution. Actually, this came from a book, a Time Life book in 1965, and it's a powerful image of how people think that human evolution takes place. This is actually what our human family tree looks like. It's more branched out with separate groups, all in a certain different groups: Homo, the Paranthropus group, Australopithecus, and Ardipithecus. It's branched out in a bushy branch. Also, what percentage of our genes do we share? We share 98% of our genes with chimps, if you can imagine that. They're our closest ancestor genetically. And DNA also shows that our species and chimpanzees diverged from a common ancestor, species that lived between 8 and 6 million years ago. Here is a variety of early human species reconstructions. The Exploring Human Origins exhibit will have an interactive kiosk where you can explore all the different traits and diversity of these human species, and you can explore what they look like and how they were recreated. This is a very exciting recent discovery. Homo naledi is a discovery that was found in South Africa a couple of years ago, and they've recently published a lot of information about this. One of the exciting things about this is that the crew that excavated in this cave was all women. They put out a call for skinny scientists because they had to go so far in this cave deep down, and they pulled out this assemblage of fossils, and the amount of information about this new member of our genus Homo is amazing. So we're going to have speaker Jill Scott on March 3rd talk about that. One thing you might not know, that Pueblo has a relationship or a similarity with Neanderthals, the PBR. A lot of people, anthropologists, have found that Neanderthals and bull riders have the same type of injuries. They're looking at that. They're studying it a little bit more, but the same type of injuries. Also, the evolution of the brain is an important part of what makes us human. We're going to have a speaker here, Dr. Fred Coolidge, who wrote the book How to Think Like a Neanderthal, and he's going to talk about the importance of evolution and brains. Now, this is my favorite species right here. This is the Australopithecine, and this is Lucy. Isn't she adorable? She was found in the 70s and discovered, and I always think about what it was like to be Lucy. She was learning how to walk upright, but also lived in the trees, and it must have been a scary existence. Also, climate change played a huge role in human evolution, and so walking upright had to do possibly with the lack of trees, the change of the climate, and the environment, and so that will be talked about in the exhibit as well. Also, spirituality is a huge part of what makes us human. We're also going to talk about the spirituality, what are the Judeo-Christian perspectives on human origins. Also, we're going to look at the Islamic perspectives on human origins, so we will have that programming at the library to talk about the importance of spirituality. Here is one of the oldest flutes. Music has been a part of what makes us human for a very long time. We're going to do some fun activities with Pico, our local improvised music group, and they're going to do an interactive session here in the theater with some improvised instruments like rocks and stones, so come check that out. Also, food is what makes us human. We have a connection with food. It's our subsistence, but also it brings us together as humans. And so we're going to explore food, natural foods, native foods that are from this area. Now, of course, who doesn't want to see Raquel Welch rocking the first cave bikini, right? So we're also going to have a little fun during April while the exhibit is here with corny caveman movies, and so we can see how Hollywood stereotyped our earliest human ancestors and have some caveman-approved snacks while we're looking at Raquel Welch in her cave bikini. You know, this is a very exciting field. What makes us human may actually be what's on us. I read a recent study that said that we had 5 pounds of human microbes are part of us. And so anthropologists are not only looking at our DNA, but they're also looking at the DNA of microbes. And so that might be a question you have for the Smithsonian scientists when they come. Also, what is the future of humanity? Will Siri beat us out? The question is, you know, what will happen in the future? And so we're going to have a program talking about the future of AI and the future of humanity. This is one of our scientists from the Smithsonian, Brianna Poviner. She is going to be here with the other scientists from the Human Origins Program at the Smithsonian Institution, April 7th through the 9th. We're going to have a variety of programs. And they're going to come and talk about human origins, what scientists know, and how they know it. And so I think we all have different perspectives about what makes us human and what that means to us. But I hope that you will join us at all of these programs that we're having as we host this really exciting traveling exhibit from the Smithsonian. And join us for some of these programs where we can explore together what makes us human. Thank you.
How you guys doing?
Good.
All right, we ready? Let's do it. All right, so I'm presenting tonight on Pueblo Cruiser bicycle rides. So some of you may have gone to these before, so take a look-see, because you might be in some of these pictures. And there's a dramatic pause here. Very nice. So it's a nice group shot. There you go. And so our humble beginnings. Our first ride ever was on May 1st, 2011, and it was actually in conjunction with some nice folks from Colorado Springs who had like a punk rock yard sale at Phil's, and we just wanted to fill the streets with one less car and several bikes. And due to popular demand, a one-time event became a bi-weekly ride. So on that first ride, this is the group, and I was not there, but it looks like a very nice group, full of energy, charisma, smiles, and there's a shark involved as well, so you can kind of tell these guys are wacky. So our mission with Pueblo Cruiser Bicycle Rides, we sponsor special event social group rides every second and fourth Fridays in the warmer months. That might count for June through October. All ages and abilities, and no one left behind. Even if I'm sitting there with you for 30 minutes waiting for a ride with you, I'll do that. So, why do we ride? That's a great question. You increase comfort in riding with traffic, increase visibility to drivers, and I think we can all say that we want bikes and cars to cooperate in the streets of Pueblo, and it's getting better every year. Fuel efficient too. And H.G. Wells has that very clever quote below too. You can't argue with H.G. Wells. Why else do we ride? Good question. We build community, we get to dress like superheroes like our friend there in the front. All these lovely ladies get to wear mustaches. Slow speed equals greater appreciation of surroundings. So it gives you like a nice breath and breather to kind of check out Pueblo. And plus we do other things too, like we drink, we be merry. We do that on our bikes with our legs flailing about. But it's all about fun. I mean, JFK likes riding bikes, so why don't you? That's a great question, right? But I think that's the important thing. The rides kind of started out as just kind of like, let's dress crazy, let's dress zany. And then it kind of has matured and changed in a lot of ways. So here's a good theme. We had bike prom, so we went to Mineral Palace Park, got all dressed up and gussied, and took some pictures with our bikes. And a nice flyer by the talented and lovely Rebecca Vigil, who was in the house. Woo, woo, woo. Okay. And you'll be seeing more of her art shortly, as in right now. So, hot days and spooky nights. So sometimes our bike rides kind of go in conjunction with some events in the community. We had a full moon ride, Friday the 13th. I think we kind of dressed as like zombies and werewolves and what's the other thing, vampires? The H2O Yeah was a squirt gun fight and bike ride. I mean, that's just fun. And we have our annual Pajama Jammy Jam as well. Why not get in some pajamas, ride around, and frequent businesses in your pajamas as well. Another lovely flyer, as you can see here. So we kind of try to put some pride and energy into our promotional props as well. Special events. Back in 2011, during that first year, the lovely Cruiser Ride folk put together, they participated in the Parade of Lights. So they put all the lights on the bikes, and you're just kind of like, how did they do that? And I honestly don't know, but it looks pretty nice in the night. I was in the crowd that day. I wasn't part of the organization at that time. We've also collaborated with the Kadoya, and many of you know the famous bear mural, and we had like a nice picnic to welcome Mr. Bear to the neighborhood, and we had a scavenger hunt for the kids for these peppermint pigs. You can find those in the artery near Kadoya as well. You have to kind of look for them. Look high, look low. This last year, with our 5th season, we had a Halloween pub crawl, and I know that Wizard of Oz crew's in the house as well. So you can kind of see, it's kind of cool, like to be walking by a restaurant and see all those bikes locked up, and just people dressed up with their cool costumes and good energy as well. So we also like to do bike-in movies. So once again, Rebecca Vigil repping the bike flyers as well. And so we try to do an outdoor type of bike thing with a projector, and it's also in conjunction with the Moving Wall Project, which some of you may know. Okay, I'm gonna take a pause here. Here are the numbers. We just had our 5th season, and we do about 7 to 10 rides each season, average age 30, range 5 years to 70 years, so we're all ages. 15 to 20 riders is the average. We've had as many as 45 on our rides as well. And in this one, conveniently, we have about 17. I have no idea, I'm just guessing. Ride format, thanks to activepueblo.net for this map, so you can kind of see there's some routes throughout Pueblo. But with our format, we try to do about 5 miles and very, very casual. And then we kind of do food and drinks and kind of conversate as well. And we also try to set up other rides. Hey, we also like to collaborate. We also like to partner. So currently our partner is J. Michaels, so we usually meet there for our rides, but we've partnered with Bingo Burger, El Pueblo, New Belgium, Pace, Robot Exchange, Shamrock, and the Kadoya as well in the past. And you got some robots in the front there as well. So our current organizer is Patty Freeman Stryber. She is in the overflow parking lot. She's our fearless leader. Rebecca Vigil, graphic designer. Andy Halverson is our tech guy. I'm the public relations guy, and you can tell that Andy and I were kind of feeling fabulous, so we thought we'd dress up for you tonight as well. So we have our cross-dressing ride as well. So if you want to join us, coming up this season, our 6th season, which is very exciting, we'll be meeting at J. Michaels. We do the bike-in movies. We'll do the themes. So if you want to throw on a dress, gentlemen, you should join us. But there's other types of fun types of themes as well. And as it says there, much, much more. And how do you find us? So you like us on Facebook, and you can just type in the search thing there, Pueblo Cruiser Bicycle Rides. And you can kind of keep up with our themes. We usually announce them about a week before as well. So, and you can be part of that smiling crew down there with your bikes, and then you can say thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Christy Rogie. I'm the Executive Director of Pueblo Rape Crisis Services, and I'm really excited to be here tonight to have such a creative way to talk about a serious issue. And I have to mention that this was a team effort, and the rest of our PRCS team is in the back, and so thank you very much to them for helping. They're awesome. In 2015, Pueblo Rape Crisis Services provided advocacy and support to 433 individuals. 155 of those individuals were met with by an advocate in the quiet room, in this picture here at Parkview Hospital, as they waited for a rape kit to be done or to make a report to law enforcement. In the United States, 82% of sexual assault is perpetrated by a non-stranger. That's someone that runs the gamut of family member, friend, coworker, classmate, neighbor, to name a few. We teach our kids about stranger danger, which we need to do, but that's not always the reality. The reality is that Pueblo Rape Crisis Services provided most of their hospital advocacy to individuals under the age of 14. The next highest age group was between 15 and 20. That's Pueblo's most vulnerable population that we are providing most of our hospital advocacy to. In the United States, 68% of sexual assault is never even reported to law enforcement. Out of 100 rapes, 32 are reported, 7 lead to an arrest, 3 go to the DA's office, 2 lead to a conviction, and 2 people will spend a day in jail. Lots of reasons for that, but partly because of something that we call rape culture. Rape culture supports myths that blame a victim for being assaulted. One of the more common myths is that rape occurs because of something somebody wore. We know this isn't true. Rape occurs because a perpetrator chose to do so, based in part on power and control needs, but not because of an outfit. We all love a superhero. In the United States, there is so much emphasis that is placed on male strength that oftentimes the culture that's perpetuated is one in which can be very hard for male survivors to disclose sexual violence. Another myth that occurs is that sexual violence happens in scary, dark places by violent strangers. That's not the norm. But what happens is that it's very easy to rally around a survivor, as it should be, who's been assaulted by a violent stranger, but less so when that perpetrator is well known or well respected. Way back in the 16th century, a British judge stated that rape is an accusation easy to be made, and that sentiment would influence rape laws for the next 400 plus years. And it also perpetuates the culture in which a victim's character is called into question, not the perpetrator. There can be many effects of sexual violence, one being trauma. Oftentimes survivors will experience post-traumatic stress disorder, which can include nightmares, flashbacks, anxiety that's prolonged and persistent, and it can be really difficult because of that to complete the most mundane everyday tasks, such as filling up the car with gas. Sometimes, but not always, there are physical effects of sexual violence. Those effects might be bruises, broken bones, internal injuries, can also be sexually transmitted disease and infection. They can be pregnancy, and sometimes they can be prolonged, such as having migraines, stomach ailments. There are also spiritual effects of sexual violence. Sometimes a survivor will blame a higher power for what happened, lose their connection to their spirituality or their faith. And we know through research that oftentimes it's very difficult for survivors to begin that healing process when that occurs. There can also be financial effects of sexual violence, bills that pay up, therapy costs, lost wages. A lot of times a survivor is not comfortable disclosing to their employer what happened, and they either end up losing their job, their leave time runs out, and they just can't make it to work. If you think of your body as the house in which you live, sexual violence can have a devastating toll. I've mentioned some of the effects, but if you add to that depression, self-care can take a backseat to just getting through the day. In any crowd of people, there will be sexual violence survivors, but there will also be what we call secondary survivors. And those are oftentimes friends and family members that are in a support role. And a lot of times they can experience vicarious trauma and may also need counseling and support as well as the primary survivor. If you can imagine seeing your perpetrator in the mall or the grocery store, in the digital age, there's another concern, that a perpetrator will show up as a mutual friend on a social media website. Facebook indicates that there's only a 3.75 degree of separation between Facebook users. Families can be a source of strength and support, but if that family member is the perpetrator, it can lead to isolation from extended family members. It can lessen that support system. And if the family is in denial about what happened, it can be very impactful for that survivor. Healing from sexual violence is like putting together a puzzle. Sometimes those pieces don't fit, sometimes a piece might be missing, sometimes that puzzle is almost done and something happens to ruin it. But we know when the pieces do fit, that's when healing can begin. Oftentimes there are barriers to that healing, and those barriers can come in the form of shame and stigma that a survivor might feel. Those barriers might come in the form of rape culture if a survivor has been treated poorly after disclosure. But whatever the barriers, literally it can take decades sometimes for a survivor to begin that healing process. But much like the interconnected root system of an aspen grove, if a survivor has an interconnected system of friends and family, a counselor, that can provide that structure and that support, the healing process can occur much easier and oftentimes much quicker. And Pueblo Rape Crisis Services can be a part of that process. Our mission is to empower survivors, to provide advocacy to survivors, and to better educate the community about sexual violence. Our door is always open, and we will provide services to anyone who seeks them. Thank you.
Hi, how's it going? So today I'm going to talk about the Maker movement and Pueblo's involvement in it in the last year. So you might be asking, what is the Maker movement? Well, it's a do-it-yourself culture that's empowered by today's connectivity with the internet and also cooperation and networking. So here's a couple stats about the Makers movement. Sorry. One important stat is the White House actually had its first Maker Fair in 2014. But you can see there's a lot of different stats on what the Maker movement is. And it's the only place you can find a 4-foot Lego man. So this was actually at the Colorado Springs branch 21C library, and it was last year's Maker Fair. There was a bunch of cool things, a bunch 4-foot tall Lego person, I think an 8-foot tall walking robot thing. But what the Maker movement really is getting kids involved and getting people involved in actually making things by hand again and actually valuing that. That's a girl using a little 3D printing pin here at the library, actually. This is another event that happened this year. This was the Denver Maker Fair. You can kind of see how adopted it has really become. They call it a movement now. It's been about 15 years since it started, and it really has taken a global phenomenon. It's become a global phenomenon. It's pretty easy to see and get excited about when you see so many kids and so many people excited about doing something and making something. I think that's the Denver skyline they're making at the Denver Maker Fair. So you don't just have to be a kid. From young to old, from crafters to machinists, pretty much anybody can be a maker. It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as you're making something, you are part of the community. This is actually in our own library here. That's a tool that we have access to anybody that can access those tools. But we always do a bunch of fun stuff too. A group here at the library sent something to space in the last year. That's David Hardcop, and this was the launch of the space balloon. Another library person here is doing other cool events with children and people in the Springs Maker Fair. So it really is about collaboration, and all this collaboration really does empower everybody to be able to make things. And it's a lot of fun. This was actually at our own Maker Fair, IdeaCon, last year. It was a costume contest, and you can assume with that how much fun there could possibly be. Maybe a partnership with the bike rides would be fun. Another really cool thing happened in Colorado, and Governor Hickenlooper signed into law Colorado Maker Day. It coincided with the Boulder and the Colorado Springs Makers Fair this year, and it's October 10th. And that's a picture of the 21C Library's Makerspace. It's a really awesome place with all kinds of cool toys. You should check it out. So we have a group here, and we make these. This is a printer that we made with common hardware. And it can be assembled with just some tools and a hand drill. There's also some businesses that are examples from here in Pueblo. Over the last few years, there's been amphibian skin, a cast that is waterproof and 3D printed, a shake machine that has been designed and prototyped here in Pueblo and is on Kickstarter actually right now. I've started my own company too, a 3D photo booth. And actually I've quit my job because I believe in this so much. And I quit my job because it's a lot of fun. So really, what is the reason why this is important? Well, there's a lot of things that can get you excited, but the real reason is the future. Do we want to be a consumer society, or do we want to make our future and our children's future better? And do we want to have more empowerment and more tools that make making things easier? I have a 2-year-old son, and obviously he's a maker. I mean, obviously he's a maker. A screwdriver and a Fisher-Price toy really stands no chance at all. So that's really why I am so enthusiastic about this. It has so much potential for the future. I want to be able to give to my son the ability to make things easier than the time I had. When I first started, it wasn't very easy to make. You had to get really creative. You had to have a job at the school. You had to kind of do a lot of different things. But the main thing we need you. The whole reason it works is collaboration. When we all can collaborate and can contribute to one common goal and to make things better, we all have better chances of making things ourselves. So there's a couple different things you can do to be involved or to make if you want. We have a group, Pueblo Makers. We meet here at the library every week. You can look that up on Facebook or Pinterest, and Meetup is where it's kind of focused. And also, you can watch out for upcoming events. There's IdeaCon, our actually own Maker Fair. National Maker Fair is June 18th, and Colorado Maker Day is October 10th. So any of those options you have, you can come and check it out, or you can get involved yourself. Thanks.
Did everyone get to try some beer? I hope. You're welcome. All right. So I'm Daniel Price. I'm actually from California. I'm not from Pueblo. I'm a transplant. But thank you for having me. This is awesome. So I actually went to Claremont McKenna College. I was an economics major, but I studied brewing mostly in my free time. And so I moved here to help open Bruzel House Brewing Company, which is right on the Riverwalk in Pueblo, Main Street, Allen Hamel. If you guys haven't been, please stop by, it's pretty awesome. And if you want some beer, we have a little bit left. It's pretty cool. So I'm here to talk to you about beer, obviously, because I don't know much about else, so here we go. So basically we start with grain. So grain's farmed all over. It's beautiful because we can use it to make beer. There's a lot of different types of grain, and that's the first important ingredient in making beer. Beyond that, we have water. Water is also very important. Apparently, Pueblo has the greatest water in Colorado. Go Pueblo. You guys are all awesome. This is great. Water is very important. We do a little bit with water. We use we take all the chlorine out in order to produce better beer. It's complicated, but I won't bore you. Beyond water, we have hops. Hops are the next most important thing in beer. I mean, they're all equally important, but we all have hops. Generally, We try to use the coolest hops we can, but Bruce Ale House is new, so it's very difficult in order to attain the cooler hops. Definitely the most important thing in beer is yeast, and yeast is a crazy animal. This is basically yeast from 2 to 3 on the screen here. It's 11 micrometers. Yeast is very small, but it's essentially what allows us to convert sugars into alcohol, which is awesome. I mean, beer is awesome. So basically, I took a lot of pictures of our operation. So here we have our mill. So we basically take that grain that I showed you, and we decide what we're going to brew, and we print out our grain bill. And we take that grain, we send it through our mill, and up this auger here. It's kind of a dark picture, I apologize, but I was unclear with what lighting we'd be dealing with, so my bad. So the auger goes up into the grist case, and basically that just like breaks down the grain and enables us to extract sugars from the grain. So then, this is our brew house. And if none of you guys have been to Bruce Ale House yet, I highly encourage it because it's pretty special and I'm very proud of it. And I will give you all tours personally. So please stop by, it'd be great. So this is our brew house, basically the hot side where we brew all the beer. And I'm basically gonna walk you through the brewing process. So this right here is the mash tun. It's also kind of difficult to see, so I apologize, but I'm not a photographer, but I tried my best. So this is the mash tun. We basically take that milled grain with some hot water, and we bring it into the mash tun. Those rakes allow us to just keep a consistent temperature and raise the temperature, and we extract sugars and enzymes, break down enzymes. We transfer over to this kettle, which is the lauter tun. This has a sparge arm, which you see up top, which is also difficult to see, so I apologize again. But in here, we basically can, furlough is one of the processes, which just basically creates a filter for grain. And then we basically sparge, and we extract more sugars, which creates a wort, which we pump into this kettle. This kettle is called the kettle. Yeah. And that's where we start our boil, and that's where we add the hops. So basically we'll have a 60-minute addition, blah, blah, blah. And we constantly have to look in the kettle. That's Tony, he's our master brewer and owner, and his glasses are all foggy. I thought it was funny, so I thought I'd embarrass him a little bit. But we're constantly looking in there, adding hops, whatever, adjuncts, whatever we want to do. But that's basically where the wort kind of concentrates and become what we want it to be. From the kettle, we transfer into these fermenters. So these are 2 of our 20-barrel bright tanks. We have 2 20-barrel bright tanks and 1 10-barrel fermenters, sorry. 2 20-barrel fermenters, and we have 1 10-barrel fermenter. So this is where we ferment the beer. So it's a wort until we throw it in there. We add yeast, and then it becomes a beer. After the beer, we transfer to these bright tanks. In these bright tanks, they condition, and then we serve straight from bright tanks, which is not common for most breweries, but it's what we do. It's more efficient, I guess. So any beer you've ever had at Bruce Ale House, most likely it came out of these bright tanks. And so straight from the bright tanks, we come to our tap handle. So this is our draft system. We don't really have tap handles yet, but we've kind of gotten creative with some template formats, which is pretty cool. We're kind of proud of them. Yeah, so we're serving straight from these bright tanks, which basically allows us to give you the freshest product we can have possible. These are the first 6 beers we started with. We have a pale ale, a blonde ale, a cream ale, a milk stout, an amber, and an IPA. Kind of wanted to pay our dues to the classic styles. We're a brand new brewery, so we didn't want to get too crazy and just blow everyone away. This is a chart of all the beer styles. I thought it was pretty cool. I found it, so I was like, I'll show it to you guys. It's pretty cool. It kind of also like basically separates ales from lagers. Ales are top fermented beers. Lagers are bottom fermented beers. That's based on yeast strains. It gets quite convoluted, but if you guys have any questions, I'd be willing to talk to you about it. I don't want to get too deep into it. I threw these barrels up here because that's our next frontier. We're going to get into barrel aging beers, sour beers, kind of exploring the new frontier for beer. Beer gets really crazy, gets really creative. We're really passionate about it, and we just want to kind of explore it with you guys. Shameless plug. I want to offer you guys all $1 off your first house beer if you guys come and visit us. We're really passionate about it, and I'd love for you guys to come check it out. So if you guys want to, let me know and we'll sort it out. Otherwise, we still have some beer back there if you want to try it. I think. Chad, let me know. Do we have beer? Where's Chad? Thanks, Chad. He's in my. Anyways, thanks, guys.
Good evening. My name is Garrison Ortiz. This is my business partner, John Wolcher. Thanks so much for having us here tonight. Our business is Garrison and John Limited, and our product is the Fit Case, which is the world's first traveling gym. It's a suitcase that allows you to get a full body workout anywhere at any time. Looking here on screen, you probably ask why we have this picture of the Canadian flag. And the reason for that is actually because the product idea for the Fit Case really was born when I was traveling several years back for business in Canada. And if you've ever been to Canada in the winter, you know that the snow you see here is no exaggeration. At that time, I was staying in a corporate apartment for the first time. Usually I'm in a hotel room where I have access to a fitness center, but the nearest gym there in Canada was 14 miles away. And 14 miles away and in snow like this, traveling there was just out of the question. So determined and creative, I looked around and started lifting almost everything imaginable, from chairs and side tables and all kinds of things that I probably shouldn't have been lifting over my head like that. I was trying to work with. And then I saw my suitcase. And I opened it up, and I started actually, believe it or not, trying to make it heavier, putting more things in it and lifting it from different angles. And that's where I thought we were onto something. So several years later, John and I developed the Fit Case. This is our prototype. The value proposition for the Fit Case is dual. It's a carry-on piece of luggage, and it's also a piece of fitness equipment. Hotel fitness centers simply are not enough anymore. Usually they are overcrowded. The equipment is outdated, and it seems just about everybody has the same idea to work out on a Monday morning. You can see here on screen that the Fit Case initially looks probably like a suitcase you might have at home. It's black, rectangular, a little stylish. If you look a little closer, you'll see that there are some modifications, such as a handle, metal eye here or there, but essentially it functions exactly like your other suitcase. In the inner lining of the case, we have a water bladder. Now, this is what makes the product scalable to any fitness level. It allows you to fill up water into the bladder there. After your workout, you can empty it, zip it up discreetly, and continue to travel with your belongings. There are 4 modes to this product. The reason we're showing the product here in front of this sofa is because one mode allows you to actually anchor it to a stationary object, whether that be this piece of furniture here, the leg of a bed, the leg of a chair, and we'll demo that up here in just a second. From the opposite end, you can attach these resistance bands and essentially perform any cable pulling exercise that you would otherwise at a gym. With that being said, I will let John talk about the 4 modes of the product, and I will be up here demoing the Fit Case for you.
Thank you, Garrison. As Garrison previously said, users of the Fit Case can obtain a full body workout at any time, anywhere. And they do this through 4 different exercise modes, but before I get to that, I want to speak a little bit more about the water bag. With the model we have right now, we can get up to an additional 8 pounds of weight. We're working with a different manufacturer to increase that. The first mode is case resistance. This is where 4 strategically placed handles come into play. And as you can see, Garrison is grabbing it now, and he's going to perform a double bicep curl, a chest press, standing triceps.
I'm only so fast.
He's going to perform a kettlebell raise. We're going to wear him out here. And some hammer curls. The second mode is the ab roller. We've placed an additional set of wheels on the back of the case that allow the user to use it like they would a traditional ab roll. And Garrison is going to do a front to back roll and a side to side roll. And I got to tell you folks, these are not easy at all. They will make you definitely regret having that dessert last night, and a couple sessions of this and you'll be well on your way to that six-pack. The third mode is the straps. There's 2 straps located on the back of the case that allow you to put the case on your body for weighted movements. And Garrison is now going to perform a standing squat, some standing lunges, and some weighted push-ups. And now we're going to have special guests come up on stage and help us with the fourth mode, which Garrison hit on a little bit, but it's with the resistance band technology. And what it essentially allows you to do is perform any cable pulling exercise you would be able to do at a gym with your fit case. And what he's doing now is taking heavy duty Velcro strapping, putting it to the chair. Again, you can use anything like the leg of a table, a bed, anything like that, a stationary object. And he's going to put resistance bands on the opposing side and perform double curls, some standing rows, some standing flies, and for you golf aficionados out there, some woodcutters. And here are just a few of the other exercise options you can do. For example, some hammer curls, back flies, calf raises, shrugs, dips, just to name a few. And now I'll give the mic back to Garrison and he can finish it off.
The Fit Case, as we stated before, allows you to achieve a full body workout anywhere at any time. It eliminates any and all excuses to working out. With the Fit Case, we do feel that we are defining a new industry, and that industry is the fitness luggage industry. Thank you so much for having us, and stay fit and stay healthy. Thank you.
So I am presenting The Long Road Home, and pardon me because I am being a little narcissistic because this presentation is all about me and coming back to Pueblo, Colorado after being gone for 10 years. I took this picture when I thought my life was over and I had packed up my belongings and came home from Los Angeles, California. Before moving to LA, I lived in New York City for 5 years. It was a place that I had always dreamed about living in and I had never visited, but I packed up a U-Haul and I moved there right after graduating from CU Boulder with a BFA in theater performance and a BA in English literature, not knowing what I would do and not having very much money in my pocket. In my 5 years there, I grew to be a fashion executive where I wish I had that Fitbit because I used to travel around for 6 days a week around the country selling high fashion women's clothing. Fashion was something that I stumbled upon while I was there, and it became a passion that I really truly loved. I took this picture of the Bethesda fountain, If you've ever read Angels in America, it's something true and dear to my heart. And in the play, they talk about longing for your past and dreaming about your future. I took this on Thanksgiving in 2013, and I loved how desolate and sad it was, because even though I was living the life I always wanted, there was still a longing for something more. I got an offer for a job in LA, and I packed up 5 years. I stuffed it all into 5 FedEx boxes. It was very therapeutic. I gave a lot of things away to many friends. I came home to Pueblo. I came from a house that was divided, but my family always made sure that it always felt whole. And without having that foundation, I probably wouldn't have been able to do the things that I did by just getting up and moving away and having this amazing support system. California dreaming. I think when you get offered a job and it's something that you think is amazing, but you don't really evaluate the whole thing, it really falls flat based on what you thought it would be. So 6 months later, after being on the beach and having my mom come and visit, my mother, I have to give a shout out to my mother, because every time I moved somewhere, she would come and, like a true mom does, she would establish me in my new apartment or my new place to live. This was actually her mother, who was a woman who influenced my life. She died of Lou Gehrig's disease in 2007. My sister, while I was in LA, got married. Weddings change everything, and if you've ever read Our Town, they truly change everything. It really brought my family together. It kind of tore them apart for a very brief moment, because planning a big Italian wedding always will do that. But the picture shows you how happy we all were. When I did move back, I moved back with my car of stuff, and then my mother and her boyfriend at the time went out to LA, and we moved back a whole carload of stuff in 24 hours. If you've ever driven to LA, that's not really feasible, but we somehow made that work, and we were all tired when I came back. When I moved back to Pueblo, just in this brief 40 seconds of knowing me, you probably know that working at Pueblo Bank and Trust probably wasn't the best fit. And so I was there for a short 6 months, learning about money and maybe a 401k in the future. I also started the endeavor of planning weddings based on the fact that I planned a big Italian wedding that almost divided my family. Out of the ashes, we will rise. I work at an innovation middle school now. I am a teacher at Pueblo Academy of Arts. If you don't know anything about innovation, we're actually introducing an innovation zone. Please search it. I never knew I could find a job that fulfilled me until I started at Pueblo Academy of Arts, and we'll go back to that in a second. I also became a care provider for my 92-year-old wonderful grandmother who drives me crazy even to this point. But I have always been surrounded by strong Italian women who will always find a voice and make you know that your work is something you should value. Being an artist is something that isn't easily taught, but it's something that almost everybody can possess. Working at an innovation school, we do vision boards about what we want to bring to our classroom and maybe what we want to develop in the future. I also lived in a world where dating was disposable, and you don't find love, you just find somebody to spend a little time with. And I moved to Pueblo, Colorado, and turned on the internet and found somebody who actually grew up in Pueblo and now lives in Springs. Love is something that you find, isn't something you find, but it's something that finds you. I also have always wanted a dog. So if there's any chance that you want to find a naughty little puppy, you just go look for it, because they change your life. They teach you how to truly love something that loves you with their full heart and emotion and greets you at the door every single day. And she is still that cute 6 months later. If this teaches you nothing, I want you to walk away with the fact that you need to practice the discipline of gratitude. I am so blessed to have the life I've had, and to be verging into my 30s and having lived almost 2 lives before that. While I've been in Pueblo, I get to start a crazy master's program with my sister at CSU Pueblo, so go Thunderwolves. And also start to develop a love for fitness that I never knew imaginable, and I've lost 15 pounds since we started. So my sister is encouraging weight loss, and I'm encouraging her to actually get her butt on the computer and study. So we are working with each other. Innovation schools. I went to a middle school that we were forced to pretty much take woodshop or art with a horrible art teacher who didn't teach you how to love your passion. I get to work with kids every day that come up with things of putting a dress out of leaves on your door for fall. And for those of you who have ever worked with glitter, he who leaves a trail of glitter is never forgotten, because it is the herpes of the craft world. So if you work with it, remember that. But also, I truly want to instill with my students that I work with every day that you can never be forgotten if you raise that flag. So thank you so much.
Hi there, mic check. Doing good? Let's start with who? Closer. Got it. Start with who I am. My name's Emily Ann Donaghy. I have 12 piercings, 4 tattoos. My hair's pink. I have hairless rats, and I breed axolotls, but not well. I am also the president of the CSU Pueblo chapter of the Institute of Electronics and Electrical Engineers. I am a senior in mathematics and a sophomore in a Bachelor of Science in Engineering. And I work with a grant from NASA to build autonomous Mars rovers. When they asked me to talk, I wondered what I'd talk about, and the first thing that you narrow it down to is what you love. Well, if I had to pick two, I'd love engineering and I love poetry. And we wonder, what in the world is the same with engineering and poetry? And the way I answered that over years and years is the ability to create. When I was younger, there was a big debacle over left brain versus right brain, and you had to be one or dominant or the other, otherwise who knows what was going on with you. And after a few years of contemplation, I decided, well, I'm right-handed, so I must be left-brained. And when I went to college, I picked math and science. But I never quite gave up art. I really strayed from sculpture into spoken word and remained there. The question would be, why do you care? And when I say why do you care, I mean why should you care, because you might not care, and that's okay. As an engineer, when I stand up to talk, I figure, what do you not know? And as a poet, when I stand up to talk, I figure, what do you need to know? And from me, I would hope you need to know that over 4 years of learning, the world's dying. There's plastic in the oceans. The air we're breathing isn't very breathable anymore. The Amazon's getting destroyed. The polar bears are dying. I don't know why the bees are dying, but the bees are dying, and we need bees. If you didn't know, we need bees. The other thing I know is that I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to save the bees. I can't tell you how to clean our air, and I'm not the engineer that can teach you how to clean the oceans. I don't know the newest technology, and I don't know how to fix it yet. And I've come to grips over time with the fact that I might not ever be the engineer that's going to be able to fix it. But hopefully, I might be able to be the poet, because the one tool I have in my arsenal is my words, and I'm good with them. And I want to instill some sort of fear in you that the bees are dying and the air you're breathing isn't clean. I hope that with my words I can teach you that something out there is going to save the planet, and that might not be me, but it could be you too, because you might not be the engineer that's going to save the world either, but you might be the school teacher. You might talk about how the bees are dying, and the little girl who sits all the way in the back, who's doodling on her paper, might start doodling about bees. And 8 years later, when she's considering a college, she might pick MIT because she has this funny feeling that she knows how to save them. Words are powerful, and you might not be the engineer that cleans up the oceans, but you might be the car salesman that suggests the Prius before the Mustang, or the construction worker that decides that they're going to use a little bit more of a clean material. I don't know how to save anything with my hands yet, but I'm hoping I can save something with my words. Because words can start a domino effect. They can create something in your mind just as well as something an engineer makes can create something on paper or on land. Words can be powerful. And if we work together, they can create anything. So at the end of the day, if you're able to take anything from this, I hope it's a voice. Even if you're not a poet, even if you're not a writer, you have a voice, and that voice can be powerful. There's someone out there that will hear you. And that person that hears you, they might be that person that saves the world, even if it's not you. And if you're the one that started it, well, I guess we'll give you a little bit of credit. So, as a poet, I considered what you need to hear, and what you need to hear from me is that I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about the fact that even if I'm not the one to save it, there is someone who can. And they might be sitting in this room, or they might be sitting in high school wondering how many days left till graduation, or they might not be born yet. They might not be born today or for 20 years. But we need to get started. And I hope you get mad. I hope you get mad that the polar bears are dying, and I hope you get mad that the air you're breathing isn't clean, and I hope you get pissed off that the Amazon's going away because your kids won't be there to see it if we don't do anything about it. And I know that some people get discouraged because they can't invent the newest solar panel, and I know people get discouraged because they might not be able to afford a Prius, and I know people get discouraged because they wonder, what in the world are I going to do to save the environment? What am I going to do to save the planet? And maybe it's nothing but opening my mouth. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's all we can all do, but I hope you do it. I hope you open your mouth. I hope you talk about it. I hope you bring it up, because it's worth talking about. It's worth talking about the world is dying. It's worth mentioning to people, even if you're the only one mentioning it. You might be the only one in the room that remembers, but remembering is half the battle. When you go to the grocery store, get a carton of milk instead of a plastic jug. Remember when you make small decisions, even if you're not able to make the big ones yet. Thank you guys so much. Maybe I'm not the engineer that can save the world, but hopefully I can do that.